Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Anime Ramble. Today I got for you a discussion video about Kaiju number 8. Today I am joined by guest. Guest, introduce yourself.
Hey, how's it going, everyone? I'm Grim Saber. You can call me Grim. I am a content creator on YouTube. I'm sure you can find my channel somewhere, and I do various content across manga, anime, and right now I'm really big on Kaiju number 8.
Subscribe to him. I'll have his links in the description below for everybody.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Grim.
Yo.
The new chapter 44 of Kaiju number 8 has dropped. A lot of questions have been answered. More questions have been presented. We finally get the history and backstory of KIKORU's mother, why she is the way she is, why her father pushed her as hard as she did. Initial thoughts for the chapter.
So yeah, for me, like I've started to have an unhealthy obsession with the Shinomiyas, and I'm really glad that we got this chapter. I've been saying for a while now that I really wanted more backstory on their family, and I would have loved to have seen like a whole kind of arc based around that. And that's something that I think that they still might do. But even just having this little snippet of their past and finding out about Kikoru's mother and Isao's wife, what happened to her, or rather, not what happened to her, but we got to see kind of her in her prime, and that really, really excited me.
The fact that she is the only person who is holding a Daikaiju weapon that no one else has been able to use since her passing. I mean, it just tells you everything.
Well, yeah,
you
as
need
far
to
as we
about
know,
her strength. Yeah.
Oh man, really, really cool. Because until that point, we only knew of the other numbered weapon that is in use, which is number 2 that Isao's using, and now we see that her mother was using the number 4 weapon, and that just kind of like blows my mind immediately. And like, she looked cool as hell as well, dude. Like, you can't tell me she didn't look cool.
Badass entirely. I mean, she does. I think we noticed that she has the same weapon as KIKORU. I don't know if that was done intentionally by the higher ups.
I'm not sure. Yeah, it looks similar, that's for sure. Hang on, I've got it on my screen as well, so I'll have a look as we go. But it definitely looks similar. It looks like it might be longer, so maybe more like a halberd, maybe.
Possibly. Yeah. I can see it being more in line with a pole arm.
Yeah, it definitely seems a little bit longer, and I guess has a bit more finesse than the axe that Kikoru's wielding. But yeah, overall, she just looks cool. And I like that in that panel, it kind of says that she swoops through the battlefields with the grace of a Valkyrie, because that's kind of the impression that I get looking at her in that armor, and how it just seems to be like full white as well. Like, I don't know, man, she just looks super cool to me. I'm very happy.
I think what stuck out the most was her armor is not like any other armor we've seen. It's completely white. It has a cape.
Just looking back through that chapter as well, it looks like she was actually the 2nd division captain, so she was a division captain, which just kind of, that is another thing as well that kind of gets me excited in that sense, because now we're seeing that we've got a division captain who was wielding a numbered weapon. We've seen that Isao, as the director general of the defense force, uses a numbered weapon. So now in my head, all I'm thinking is like, okay, so who's next for numbered weapons? Are we thinking like, are we going to see the captains start maybe getting that possibility? So maybe Mina might end up with one, and even Narumi might end up with a numbered weapon. I could see him getting one first because of, his prowess, but I don't know, dude. This whole chapter just got me so excited with theories and stuff with these identified numbered weapons.
I want to say 4 or 3 other high-ranking officials. 5, 4 if you're including the Director General. Director General, Captain Mina, Captain Oshina, and Narumi.
Yeah.
All of their suits were black. She's the only one who has rocked the all-white. And this series doesn't seem...
She's got that clean paint job.
Right, so... you're looking at it and you're like, okay, well, we know that the suits are made from kaijus, and the kaijus have shown a level of, progression and evolution that just hasn't been presented before. I'm guessing the higher you get up in kaiju ranking, or at least I'm going to assume, on that scale of, between a Hoju, Yoju, and Daikaiju, the higher you up, the more power you're able to pull from what's being exerted, and because of that, it changes the outward appearance of your armor, basically giving you a boost. And we know that it can take away from you because Hoshina overheated. Yes. So what is that possibility of what 100% looks like drawing from a kaiju?
I mean, so in this chapter as well, we get one sort of major thing that we get confirmed is that using these numbered weapons basically shaves off the lifespan of the user. The deputy director says to Isao before he goes to jump in, basically that he shouldn't, because he's using the suit too much, and if he uses it again, he's just going to shave more time off of his lifespan. Like, so it clearly takes a huge toll by using the numbered weapons. And before that, we'd already seen that just using the normal Defense Force officers using their own suits clearly takes some kind of toll as well, because as you just said, we saw Hoshina overheat, and we know that KIKORU is overheated as well, and when that happens they get a nosebleed and stuff, so it can't be good for their body.
You're right.
So yeah, I mean, like, I think the numbered weapons are probably I'm seeing the numbered weapons at the moment as a combination of both the suit and the special weapon. I think it's like an entire thing. So with Isao, he had the number 2, and that for me is a combination of the suit, because if you look closely, his suit does differ to the others. It's black, but it looks different, and then obviously he's got the gauntlets. So I at the moment I'm kind of assuming that the suit and the weapon is like a combination. So they call it like the numbered. So in Hikari's case, we're calling it the number weapon 4, or numbers 4. And she has this kind of cool Valkyrie white suit, and then she's got that kind of halberd as well. So I would say that's all the weapon. But yeah, I digress. So in terms of the toll it's taken, I would say, yeah, it must take a massive, massive toll. It would be interesting to see how they kind of like evolve from that.
Well, going back to what you were saying before, I think this might be, we never saw what actually killed Kikoru's mother. It might have been a situation of her suit being so powerful that it overheated her to a point of, death. I don't think we saw her actually fall from the cut. Yeah, we don't. Yeah, it just cut straight to. It just cut straight to her. Her funeral.
That's a good point. Yeah, that's a good point. They haven't actually said, and I would go. For me, I would lean towards. It's more likely she died fully exerting herself using the suit than actually being killed by number 6 itself. I could believe that at the moment.
And tying that in further, the Director General received a significant amount of pushback when he said that they're not going to dispose of Kaiju number 8. They're going to go this completely new route of bioweaponry. And that could have stemmed from this, right? The suits are more problematic than they are beneficial in the long run, and him not being able to jump in being, I think, confirmed the strongest still. Or at least
yeah, you know what? I agree with that.
I think another thing I really wanted to talk about and get your thoughts was the sheer scale in which number 9 has popped up in his power level, right? I'm not really a power scaling type of channel, but I can't ignore the fact that this is probably the best fight he's ever put up against anybody.
Definitely.
And it's it can't be the army, because number 10, he had sheer numbers on his size. He was intimidating, but the numbers of the Wyvern was really what got the Defense Force. Number 9 in this case, is just taking on KIKORU and Kafka. Him, half an ant and a spider, seems to be doing a trick. Oh, and the cloning thing.
The cloning thing, yeah.
the division.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right. Like, I think you've said this before, and I've said this before as well, is that in terms of power, number 9 is probably, quite weak. if that's the best way to say it. I know he can still clap your standard defense officer, but he definitely, like, if you were to compare him to number 10's just all out power against Hoshina, I would say number 10 was probably quite far above him in terms of raw power. And we know that number 8 is leagues above him in terms of raw power as well. So for you to say that this is probably the sort of best rendition we've seen of him just in terms of raw power, I'd have to hard agree, because I definitely think, knowing what he knew, he has done everything he can to prepare for this fight. Like, he's put all of this plan into action, and he's gone in with his best gloves on, because he knew what he was going up against. So that's why we're seeing him in this form now, and why he's suddenly splitting himself all over the shop.
It's true. If you compare the 3, the Dai Kaijus 8, 9, and 10, then 9 is definitely the weakest physically. But if anything else, he's definitely the smartest, because even in this chapter,
100%.
Even in this chapter on page 3, Kikoru's like, is this something that number 9 is doing? And I know it's very on the nose, but we know that he has technology that allows him to shut multiple things off, right? The first time he attacked, he shut off all forms of communication inside of the given area, and he was just having a field day with, or was it the second time? It was the second time with Reno and the other guy. He had that dome up. that was just like, oh, no communication is going to get through this. He might have a situation if kaijus are artificially created. I think you said that earlier. No, I was talking with Dan. If they are created in a lab, people might have kill codes. And if you're able to shut off number 8 for however reason and prevent his host from transforming, well, you have a situation like this with number 9, just coming in from the underground and just dealing with whatever he has to deal with. Because if you can eliminate the other Daikaijus, and well, who else is going to be left to handle it? This might be a situation of Narumi having to jump in.
And I guess this is where Kikoru's mindset is going, because, you know, she's deducing that if Kafka can't transform, maybe number 9 is he's doing something. He's behind this in some way. So she's hoping that she can gain the upper hand long enough for Kafka to transform. So it's a good theory, man. Like, it's definitely believable.
So you just had this moment of number 9, I think, really just getting all of his ducks in a row.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a lot of like, this is me like giving him a lot of benefit of the doubt for this plan, only because of just how absurd it was, and the fact that he can divide. Well, what do you think about that? His division. How many times realistically do you think he can replicate himself and still be in control?
It's difficult to say based on what we know, because even though the theory around him splitting was something that I first heard from Betty Adams, and she I was never sure about it, but she was convinced that'd be the case, and she was totally right. So for me, I'm still quite new to the idea, but that being said, I think if I was to guess, I'd say that he can probably split almost an infinite number of times, but perhaps that instead of, you know, his control wavering, it might be just more that his power lessens by a substantial amount. But yeah, for me, it's quite hard for me to kind of guess that one at the moment, especially because he just split into 2 at the end of this chapter. So now, you know, Kafka and Kikoru have got to go up against one each. So it'd be interesting to see whether they're both dealing with the same kind of power, or whether, you know, they're actually weaker now when they're split. So yeah, I'm not too sure at the moment, but we shall see.
I'm still under the assumption that number 9, and I could be completely off, I feel like it's going to be a hit or miss at this point, that number 9 is still after those weapons. Unless, of course, he continues to pull out new abilities, because I made that theory before I saw any of this division stuff, any of this hurting,
the numbered weapons.
Yeah, this hurting mentality that he has. Like, number 9 is actually insanely powerful. He just never showed anything of it. So I had made the thing, I was like, okay, well, he's going to need these weapons. If he can summon an army of ants and spiders and every other insect and arachnid under the boat, he might not need it. But well, actually no, because we see the defense forces now, unless they're just completely oblivious to what's going on. The defense forces have never really had the strongest defenses. I brought this up, you know, they get in and out of the defense forces whenever they want. Number 9's been in twice, 10 has been in it. Everyone can raid a force at this point.
Yeah, I liken it to being like their defense is more reactionary than it is defensive to begin with. Like, I feel like they have all the technology to tell you when something's happening, so they can react to it, you know, as quickly as possible. But I don't think they really have anything completely defensive automatically. Like, there's nothing just in place to prevent, you know, any kind of sudden kaiju appearance. I think the whole defense force operates on this kind of reactionary thing where as soon as there's an appearance, they have to mobilize as quickly as possible. And I think a lot of their training and their technology comes down to how quickly they can react.
I think I'm starting to see some comparisons coming between Kaiju number 8 and Claymore. Have you seen that anime or read that manga?
Yeah, I've read the manga. Actually, I've seen the anime too, just a long time ago.
Something similar in terms of the negative effects of the procedure that they went through in Claymore to become over time. The more they had it, the more that Yomi blood bled into their system, and they gradually lost control over time.
That's right. I guess maybe you were thinking about how like the suits take a toll, or
we know they can overheat. They can overheat the person. You know, Hoshina and Kikoru have both been overheated before, but maybe there's a little bit. Maybe there might be additional effects. Maybe that's just how it starts. You know, oh, you overheat, but over time you've been using kaiju so much that it just bled into you, and eventually you'll start to lose control more and more and more. And the Kaiju Experimentation is the result of what happens when someone goes completely into their kaijuification process.
Oh, I see what you're saying. That's quite an interesting theory, actually.
The only reason I say that is because of Kikoru's mom's suit, right? Because we've seen Daikaijus made into weapons. I mean,
Yeah.
who was it? The Director General, he used Daikaiju as a weapon. He never turned white. You know, the suit wasn't white, the weapon wasn't white. This is something, a complete anomaly, right? It's like they found an albino kaiju and was like, yep, this is for you. I don't see that being the case. I see it as a gradual process. And this might have been just the end of the road for Kikoru's mom in terms of life expectancy. Like, yeah, I'm going out anyway. I'm gonna just give it all I got now. And because of that, it led to the Director General being more lenient towards Kafka. Like, even if we made, because he said it, even if we made you into a weapon, there's no guarantee you would be able to use it.
No.
Which led to this cold storage, right?
Right, yeah, that's where the number 6 weapon is.
Yeah, it might have been, and they might have found that out because of number 4. All right, well, if you go 100% of a Daikaiju weapon, this is the result. This is what happens, and no one's touched Daikaiju weapon since.
Maybe, yeah, maybe they weren't aware of how much it's doing to the body until Hikari. Maybe she was the first, to die from overuse to the point where they're like, oh, okay, this is what's happening when you use them.
Because that would have only been because that would have only been the 4th.
Yes.
So they would have still been in a very experimental phase.
Yeah, definitely. And like, there's lots of numbered weapons that I assume they have and are unaccounted for. They could obviously turn around and say they've only made so many, but I would be under the assumption that they've made a numbered weapon for each numbered Daikaiju that they've defeated, which means that we'd still be expecting a 1, a 3, a 5, a 7, and a 7. And maybe a 10. If 10 is dead, maybe a 10. Maybe, man. It's definitely an interesting theory. It was great.
Let me see about
Kikoru, kind of just on how, like, she's,
putting the entire team on her back right now.
Well, no, she's carrying hard, but more like we've now, because of the backstory there, we've now seen that the thing that really drives her is, the loss of her mother, to the point where they had a promise, or she promised to her mother that she would save her, and she couldn't, and that's really obviously affected her since being a child, and that's the thing that drives her to be so strong. Until now, we weren't 100% sure until now, like, that was what drove her. I always kind of assumed that she was just overdriven by her father. But now this will make sense.
It does make, well, she was definitely driven by her father.
Yeah.
But like it's also her, like, it wasn't just a situation that I think we've seen in other series where she didn't want to do it, she's forced to do it. But given everything we just saw, like, this was a serious weight that she had on her, and the fact that her father was probably extremely distant and didn't help her at all with the grieving process.
Right, and we see that as well. Like in that kind of flashback part where we see them at the funeral, you can see he is completely traumatized.
Yeah,
like she looks up to him to say "daddy," and he's cut off when she sees the look in his eye, and he's he's not focused at all. His pupils are dilated. He is almost visibly shaking with rage. At that point, that almost feels like the point when his personality completely changed. Because if we go back a few pages, he looks like a kind of like really, almost like a happy-go-lucky kind of father figure. He seems really chill.
Yeah, as much as you can be in a pandemic. Yeah.
Exactly. But yeah, now he's like at the funeral. That looked like the moment that signified the Isao that we see today.
Well, yeah, he was there.
Yeah,
like it was probably a very debilitating situation. We don't even know if he had the strength to use his
number
gauntlets.
2.
Yeah. So it might have been a moment
that's a good
of just
point. We don't know if he
hopeless.
was using it at the time or if his ability to use that came after. We don't know.
Yeah, you talk about a moment of just sheer helplessness. Like your wife is taking the lead and you can't do anything to help.
Yeah, this is why I want a whole backstory arc on the number 6 battle, and I feel like they'll do it because they've put so much information into the cataclysms caused by number 6 that they've got plenty that they could do. Like they could do a whole volume just on the events of that, and it would be awesome. And I really want them to do it.
It would. They have a lot of ways that they could go with this, on top of introducing like a number 11.
Yeah, it's definitely not, number 10 is definitely not going to be the last numbered Daikaiju we see. It's one of those manga where they can't, they have to be able to keep, I don't know if increasing the power level is the right word I'm going for, but more like they have to be able to have a consistent threat. So, you know, they've dealt with 10, number 9's still going, but there could always be a number 11 who's a bigger threat than 10 was. They need to, you know, it's a manga. They need to be able to increase the threat so that they can increase the power of the protagonist. And that's where the numbered weapons will come in, and the heroes that we know will start receiving numbered weapons to fight against them. And that's the kind of directions I see it going in.
Do you have a prediction going into next chapter?
What about you?
I seen a Rumi jumping in and driving.
Well, let's remember he's also got his own clone to deal with.
He does.
So I guess it depends how easily he can clap his clone.
I'm just under the impression if KIKORU can do it, like Narumi can do it like 10 times faster.
Right, yeah.
This seems
100%.
more like I need to hold y'all here. 9 has never been a straightforward type of person. There's always something that he has to do in the background.
Yeah.
This just seems like you know what? I need y'all in front of me so I know you're in front of me.
Yeah, I can agree. Yeah, I can agree. I could see Narumi turning up like right when things are dire. Like you sit here and think about the direction things can go in, and they just feel like they can go in so many directions. It keeps it fresh.
Keeps it extremely fresh. But ladies and gentlemen, if you made it to the end, thank you. If you are new, go plus ultra and smash the subscribe button. Lets me know you rock with the content that I put out on the channel. Guest, say your piece, plug your plugs.
Well, I don't know what I'm supposed to say here, but yeah, thank you very much for watching the video. It's been a pleasure to be on here. Thank you so much for inviting me along. And yeah, if you fancy checking out some more manga and anime related content, please head over to my channel and check it out.
Absolutely. Grim, thank you for coming on to the channel. I'll have everything in the description and pinned comments below. Subscribe if you're brand new, and like always, and until next time, I'm out.